Here's a full 1500-word emotional story based on your title and theme. Hashtag missing child, hashtag emotional story, hashtag kindness corner. Ma'am, I know that missing child, the girl said. The millionaire woman broke down. The ballroom of the Grand Aurora Hotel shimmered beneath crystal chandeliers, glowing gold against silk gowns and tailored suits. At the center of it all stood Victoria Langston, a self-made millionaire and founder of the Langston Foundation. She was known for her elegance, her generosity, and her tragedy. 3 years ago, her 6-year-old son, Daniel, had disappeared from a crowded seaside festival in Monterey. Despite nationwide searches, media coverage, and a private investigation that cost more than most people earned in a lifetime, Daniel was never found. Since then, Victoria had poured her grief into helping missing children's families. That night's charity gala was dedicated to them. A massive screen displayed photos of missing children. Daniel's picture appeared last, a bright smile, messy brown curls, and a dimple on his left cheek. Victoria steadied herself as the room fell silent. "We never stop looking," she said into the microphone, her voice practiced but fragile. "And we never stop hoping." Polite applause filled the hall. No one noticed the small figure standing hesitantly near the service entrance. She didn't belong among the glittering guests. Her dress was faded, her shoes worn thin. She looked no older than 12. Her name was Amara. She had slipped in quietly while kitchen staff carried trays inside. She hadn't meant to cause trouble. She had only come because of the posters. Because of the boy. When Daniel's photo filled the screen, Amara's heart began to pound. After the applause faded and guests resumed conversation, Amara gathered her courage and approached the stage. Security intercepted her immediately. "Sweetheart, this is a private event." She swallowed hard. I need to talk to the lady. The boy's mama." One guard gently tried to guide her away. "Not tonight." But Victoria had noticed the commotion. "It's all right," she called softly. "Let her come." The room grew quiet again as Amara stepped forward, dwarfed by marble columns and glittering gowns. Up close, Victoria saw dirt beneath the girl's fingernails. Fear in her eyes. And something else. Certainty. Amara looked up at her and whispered, voice trembling. "Ma'am, I know that missing child." The words struck like lightning. The ballroom dissolved into silence. Victoria knelt before her, heart hammering. "What did you say?" "I've seen him," Amara said. "He's not called Daniel anymore. They call him Danny, but he don't answer much." A murmur rippled through the guests. Victoria's breath grew shallow. She had heard false hope before. Cruel tips, mistaken sightings. But this felt different. "Where?" she whispered. Amara hesitated. "You won't get mad." "Never," Victoria said, gripping her hands gently. "He lives in the red house by the old train tracks near Harbor Street. With a man called Ray. Ray says he's his nephew. But he don't look like Ray." The room began buzzing louder. Victoria signaled for silence. "How do you know him?" she asked carefully. Amara's voice cracked. "Because I bring food there sometimes." "Food?" She nodded. "Ray don't take care of him proper. He locks him inside when he leaves. I hear him crying through the window. So I sneak bread when I can." Victoria's composure shattered. "You've spoken to him?" she asked, tears forming. "Only once," Amara said. "He was scared. I asked his name. He said he used to be Daniel." The millionaire woman broke. A sound escaped her. Not elegant, not restrained, but raw and wounded. She covered her mouth as sobs overtook her. 3 years of frozen grief cracked open at once. Guests stood in stunned silence as Victoria wrapped trembling arms around the small girl. "Are you sure?" she whispered against Amara's hair. Amara nodded. "He has a dimple. Right here." She touched her own cheek. Victoria gasped. Security had already begun calling the police. Within minutes, the gala transformed into a command center. Officers arrived. Victoria insisted Amara ride with them. The drive to Harbor Street felt endless. The red house stood crooked and tired near abandoned tracks. Paint peeling, curtains drawn. Victoria's hands shook so violently she couldn't open the car door. Police approached cautiously. A knock. No answer. Another knock. Then the sound of hurried footsteps inside. The door opened halfway. A gaunt man with sharp eyes peered out. "Yes, we received a report about a child living here," an officer said evenly. "No kids here," the man replied too quickly. From inside the house, a faint sound emerged. A small cry. Victoria's knees nearly gave out. Officers pushed past him. The house smelled of neglect. Trash piled in corners. Windows boarded halfway. And there, sitting on a thin mattress in the corner of a dim room, was a small boy. brown curls, wide frightened eyes, and a dimple on his left cheek. Victoria couldn't breathe. Daniel, she whispered. The boy flinched at the sound of the name. She stepped closer slowly, tears streaming. Daniel, it's Mommy. The boy stared. The officers detained Ray in the background, his protests fading beneath the roaring in Victoria's ears. She knelt a few feet from the child. You love dinosaurs, she said softly. Your favorite is the Triceratops. You used to sleep with Mr. Blue, your stuffed elephant. The boy's lips parted slightly. Victoria reached into her purse with shaking hands. She had carried it every day for 3 years. A small, worn photograph. She slid it across the floor. It showed Daniel on her shoulders at the beach, both laughing into the sun. The boy picked it up. His tiny fingers trembled. I remember, he whispered hoarsely. Victoria collapsed forward, careful not to startle him. He hesitated only a second longer before falling into her arms. The sound she made then, half cry, half prayer, echoed through the broken house. Outside, Amara stood quietly beside a police car, hugging herself. An officer approached her gently. You did a brave thing tonight. She shrugged. He was lonely. Victoria emerged moments later, carrying Daniel wrapped in a blanket. Her eyes found Amara instantly. She walked straight to her. You saved my son, she said, voice thick. You saved my whole world. Amara looked down. I just didn't want him to be hungry. Victoria knelt again, but this time, not from grief. From gratitude. Where are your parents? She asked softly. Amara's silence was answer enough. She had been living in shelters since her mother passed the year before. Slipping through systems. Surviving quietly. Victoria stood slowly, holding Daniel with one arm, and extended her other hand to Amara. Then you won't be alone anymore either. Amara blinked. What? You showed kindness when no one was watching, Victoria said. Let me show you what kindness can do. That night changed 3 lives. Ray was arrested and later charged with kidnapping and child endangerment. Investigations revealed he had taken Daniel during the festival and moved frequently to avoid suspicion. Daniel began therapy. The road wasn't easy. There were nightmares, silence, fear of closed doors, but there was also healing. And laughter slowly returning. As for Amara, Victoria became her legal guardian within months. The mansion that once echoed with emptiness grew warm again, not just with Daniel's recovery but with Amara's bright resilience. She struggled at first to adjust to soft beds and full plates. She often saved pieces of bread in her pockets. Victoria would gently remind her, there will always be more. One evening, months later, the 3 of them stood in the garden. Daniel chased fireflies. Amara laughed freely, the sound no longer cautious. Victoria watched them, heart fuller than it had ever been, even before tragedy. Because she understood something now. Grief had broken her, but kindness, unexpected, brave, and small, had rebuilt her life. She looked at Amara. You know, Victoria said softly, heroes don't always wear capes. Amara wrinkled her nose. I don't feel like a hero. Victoria smiled through grateful tears. That's how I know you are one. And beneath a sky scattered with stars, a millionaire woman who once lost everything held on to the 2 children who had found each other, and in doing so, found home. If you'd like, I can also create a shorter viral Facebook version, 300 to 500 words. Turn this into a YouTube narration script. Add a dramatic twist ending. Or write a part 2 continuation. Yellow heart 1500 WAD.